Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week we're back in the shed and I've got a couple of repairs from my sister-in-law. See you in a minute. Now sadly we lost my brother in 2020, just shortly before full lockdown, so unfortunately we could at least have a funeral with people there rather than some people who sadly weren't able to have more than 2 or 3 people at a funeral. And my sister-in-law moved from Cirencester last year. We had an extended period when she was in living with my niece because the house was being a lot of work done on it, and a lot of the things that they moved were put into storage, and unfortunately a couple of things have got damaged, a couple of things have got broken, and she's now moved in and I've got a couple of things that want some repairs doing. One of them's very easy, but it's quite sort of appropriate this weekend. It's one of the poppies from the I think it was 2014. They put them in the Tower of London, and we'll talk about that one later. There's very little work to do on this one, but it has got to have a little bit of work done on it. And the other thing is a seemingly unimportant thing that you see in the gift shops, one of these push bikes that made out of metal that's presumably made in China or India or something as gift things, but this one has got quite some significance. My brother was a cyclist. He spent a lot of hours on his bike. He had some very nice bikes. Did Land's End to John O'Groats in his 60s, and unfortunately it got damaged. I don't know whether it was in the move or before the move, but now this was not only in the house for a long while before he died, but it was placed on the coffin at the funeral service, and as such holds some particular memories for me and the family. So I want to get this repaired. It's had a break on the front forks. It's also, because it's been in storage, it's got a bit rusty, so we'll get these things repaired and back to their rightful owner and see what we can do with them. Right, so let's start with a sort of an in-depth look at what's wrong with this. It is a fairly simple repair in terms of what's gone on, but it's not quite so simple in terms of how I'm going to have to deal with it, I think. There is what was effectively a brazed, I think, joint between the mudguard and the forks and the headstock of the bike there, and that has failed. It's broken, and I really don't want to get into. It's possible it could be soldered back, I don't know, but it's not very strong. Solder isn't the strongest of things to have. The thing is quite badly bent, so there's a bit of work to do to straighten things. But I noticed when I was looking at it that underneath the mudguard there is a screw in there which goes through, which screws it to the mudguard to the frame. The headstock itself, there is a screw in the bottom of it. You can just see that they've used a bolt through there which goes right the way up through the headstock and is attached at the top end, I think. I don't know whether that may or may not be able to get that off, I don't know. So what I'm thinking in terms of is it's a crosshead screw there. So what I think I'd like to do is to drill that down into that shaft and tap it, and then if I take the wheel out and drill through the hole where the mudguard fixing goes, right through this headstock. Drill right through the headstock. I can put a new screw up through, up and into there, and I think that will give it the stability it wants. I don't think gluing it will be sufficient, even with a good epoxy. As I say, there's a lot of straightening to be done, but if I get into trying to do anything with it with solder or heat or anything like that, you're going to end up having to repaint the whole frame, I think, and at that point it sort of ceases to lose some of its authenticity. It ceases to be what it was before. I could go out and buy another one, sort of thing. So I want to try and just keep it right but mechanically sound. So that's the first step. The rest of it is suffering a bit with rust here where it's been installed. The chain is rusty, so all of that wants doing. There's a bit of tightening up of things to do. Fixings are all rusty, so I want to try and get that done. And again, the back, the mudguard's all bent to hell. All the bits of support are bent, so we need to get all that straightened up. While I'm waiting, I'm just going to give the bottom of it a bit of a file to get some of the surplus off. That will be useful for a couple of things. Firstly, it exposes the screw head properly, but secondly, it tells me what that material is that it's been connected with. If it was solder, it would be soft, but as it is, it's like a bronze. It's been brazed, this has, which even more makes me not want to get heat round it, because you'd need a blowtorch and quite a lot of heating to get a similar sort of joint. So I can actually hopefully get a drill into that now to drill and tap. So I'm just going to drop the front wheel out if I can. I don't think that's going to be a difficult job to do. A bit like a normal bike, just undo the two sides. And again, that might need a little bit of, it's not too bad, not too wobbly. Put the nuts away in a pot, and there is the screw that's holding the front forks onto the front mudguard. So I think that's broken that bond. Yeah. So at least we can get down to fundamentals now. We have something with a hole all the way through it. I think that's far enough in. I've got about that much into it, which is 10-12 mil, something like that. Hopefully now all we need to do is get the tap and run down inside it, and then we can have at least a mechanical joint. Even if the tap didn't work, we've got a spine going down into there that even with glue you would get some sort of an answer. But this is now starting to bite. It's got to be reasonably deep because the tap's got a taper on it, so I want to get the thread fairly far down into it. So let's have a look and see if that fits in there first and foremost. Just needs about 1/8 of an inch, 2 or 3 mil, taking off the end of that screw, and I think we're there. We've got a good solid mechanical working fit there. Right, well, I think I can count that one as being a success on phase 1. Anyway, the bike now has a working steering that I'm pretty sure will stand up to a certain amount of abuse. Time to get the thing cleaned up. Now that's got the scary bit done. I'm not really worried about the rest of it. It's a matter of just bending and coaxing stuff into shape more than anything now. I'm going to have a go at that with a pair of pliers. Going to go around the rest of the bike with a brush just to get all the dust off it which has gathered over the time. And then the only other thing is the bits of rust which we've got everywhere. And for that I'm going to use one of these, which is a glass fibre pencil. It's like a propelling pencil. These replaceable centre bits are hundreds of tiny little glass fibre fibres all in a stick. Use it a lot with railway modelling, well, any metalwork type modelling, and it's very abrasive. The only problem is that if you're not careful, if you get these into your skin, it hurts like hell because it's an irritant that you can't see where they are. But all it does, you just rub it on, he says knocking it over, and it'll just effectively like a sandpaper, but it will get rid of the rust, and particularly on the chain where it's rusty. I'm just going to go over the whole thing and start and get rid of that. I'll do a close-up, you can see how it works. Hopefully you can see on that now the rust on this chain, and all I'm going to do is just rub at it like that with this glass fibre pencil, and that should just get rid of it all. You can give it a spot of oil then, and it'll be back to being as good as new. Mixing up paint to do the touch-up. I've got where I think is as close as I can with colour with the yellows. I've taken 2 or 3 lots of different yellows and some white and mixed together, but I've realised when I put it against the bike itself that it's not right. There's an element of, I don't know whether it's grey or green or what in it, so I'm going to try a spot of green just to see if I can get it a little bit closer. That's too much, but it's certainly a lot closer. So I think we're on the right track with that. That's much better, much closer. So I think I'm going to go with that. Probably a tiny bit lighter, but I'm not going to worry too much. A few bits on the front forks and on the paint there. And I think it was particularly bad on the one side where it was badly, I had to straighten it and it was badly bent. An odd one this. It's been strange to work on something that actually holds a significance to me. Generally when I'm doing something like this, well, it doesn't matter because you've got nothing to lose. This holds a much more important place. So I hope Big Bro is looking down on me and will approve. I've done my best for him. Right, so having disposed of the bike, it's time to move on to the Poppy, which is, I think, going to be a much easier thing to deal with. This, for anyone that doesn't know or remember, these poppies were part of an art installation called Blood Swept Lands and Seas of Red, which was put on at the Tower of London in 2014 to commemorate 100 years since the First World War started, and they made 888,246 ceramic poppies, and each one represents a fatality by a British military serviceman during the First World War, which is chilling really when you think about it, and certainly when you saw the thing itself, the installation itself. These things were laid to pour out from the tower of one of the towers in the Tower of London, down and all along the moat, and it was really eerie to see so many poppies. It took them over 20,000 people just to plant them for the installation. So it has a significance in many ways, this, if not just the reason to stop and think a little bit about what was given up during that war, and any other war really, I suppose. This was my sister-in-law's. It looks like it's had a hard life. It obviously has been broken at one point. They were made up of a stamped out piece of clay with 4 leaves on it, and a stamped out piece of clay with 3 leaves on it, and there was a whole team of people making these things over a period. When you think of the sort of logistics involved in making over 750,000 of these, it was an incredible venture. And they were installed on a metal rod with what they said was, or they referred to as a cork on the end, but it's actually a rubber. There's not a lot I can do. All that's happened with this is that the back of it, the poppy was held on with what is, or what appears to me to be, a tap washer, and over the years, 12 years on, that's perished. So no, 20 years, 10 years on, sorry, forgive the maths. So I'm going to get myself a new tap washer. I'm just going to get a wire brush on the rod of this, which has gone rusty, clean it up a bit, clean the end up, and I'm going to use the brush I was using on the bike to just get all the dust off the poppy itself. There's nothing more I need to do or could do with that anyway. It has been broken, as I say. There's a piece chipped off it, but I'm just not going into that one. It was merely to make it something that can be put back. Now my sister-in-law has her garden back. She's been having that re-landscaped and all sorts. Now that's back in action. We can get this back out there as a constant reminder of those who fell in the world wars. That really was a simple one. I've given that a coat of black. The actual poppy itself is all one piece anyway, so that doesn't need any more work doing to it. So all I need to do then is to get the washer and see if it'll fit. I've got a feeling it might be too small. I might have to go and have a look and see if I've got a bigger one to get through that hole. Yeah, it could do with being a slightly larger size, because that'll just go through the same. I can't find any 3/4 inch tap washers in the garage, but I have found a nice hefty substantial stainless steel washer. So I'm just going to try that with the backing of the smaller tap washer to push onto it afterwards. This is more just to locate it than anything, and hopefully it won't slip once it's all installed in the garden. Squeeze that up tight, give it a little bit of accelerator. There we have it, another poppy ready to go back into the garden. If only it was as simple to have mended the person that represented. Well, it's been an emotional day really. I've had an enjoyable day in that I've done 2 repairs that it's always nice to see something brought back to life, but in this case they've both had a pretty significant sort of effect on me. The poppy purely and simply for the relevance at the moment of the time of year, and the fact that that represents just one of over 800,000 who died in the First World War, never mind anything else. So that one got to me a bit. My brother's bike, similarly, that was a bit of a sentimental journey, and we've had a few moments today. But it's also very strange this time of year. There's medals up there, which is my grandfather who was in the First World War, so I can think about him as well. Sadly, I lost my dad on the 11th of November in, I think it was 96. So it's a bit of a strange time really, but we've enjoyed ourselves. We've had a day in the shed doing something, and a day in the shed repairing things. Can't all be bad. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you next time. We'll be doing something different in here. See you then. Bye.